September 23, 2022. A Washington State University graduate student was having trouble fitting his head through the classroom door lately, or so it seemed. This teaching assistant with that Ted Bundy stare was a step ahead of the rest, and he reportedly picked a fight with his professor. After what is described as a feisty and belligerent tirade against the astounded scholar, Brian was put on notice that his bad behavior was expressly forbidden. Not only had he been scrimmaging with his superiors, but his fixed gaze unnerved the students under his assist, especially those of the female variety. In a not-so-shocking twist, some women in the class reportedly felt wildly uncomfortable in his presence. His icy eyes pierced their sense of security, and they made their concerns known to the faculty. Just 7 short weeks later, police say Brian would puncture more than just the privacy of 4 young college students' lives. It's what investigators and true crime enthusiasts found after the fact that was particularly fascinating. You'll hear about how he flipped the script and conceded defeat to his dark side. That's next, and this is Absolutely Criminal. Brian Kohberger is the 28-year-old man that stands accused of the quadruple slayings in the cozy college town of Moscow, Idaho. If you haven't seen part 1 of our series on Brian Kohberger, that's episode 32, and it's linked here. You'll learn more about the events of November 13, 2022, and more about the incredible lives of the victims taken so brutally. Although Latah County Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall imposed a gag order on the case, there are more details that have come to light since we've last met. This includes more intimate internet posts by a disturbed young man half-heartedly reaching out for help, multiple accounts of his increasingly erratic behaviors, and the battle for transparency at the bottom of 4 families' long, uphill journey to justice. Of all the social media posts that are thought to originate from behind the eyes of Brian Kohberger, perhaps the most chilling is the Facebook profile under the alias Papa Roger. The Papa profile popped up on a Facebook group page devoted to discussion of the University of Idaho murders. The user commented frantically on the case for over a month. Of particular note was the post Papa penned on November 30th. Of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed-blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. This evidence was released prior to autopsies. Was it merely a hoaxer's lucky guess, or a killer who clearly couldn't help himself? Then just when you think you're all popped out, ponder this puzzle. The Papa Roger posting came to a pause on the date Brian Kohberger was arrested. The account swiftly and simply went silent. If the account did belong to Kohberger, it wouldn't have been the first time that a naughty netizen was hiding in plain sight, posting thinly veiled mea culpas on message boards around the web. Back in 2016, there was a different psychopath straight out of Central Casting. Serial killer Todd Kohlhepp was a 45-year-old South Carolina realtor who killed 7 and kept a woman locked up in a storage container in his yard. When he wasn't out sowing his satanic seed, Todd enjoyed leaving helpful Amazon reviews on his murder implements and evil restraints. All the while, he literally had bodies buried in his own backyard. Was Kohberger secretly taking pleasure in messing with people's minds? We don't know. Unfortunately, there are quite a few things we don't know, mostly because of the gag order we mentioned earlier. True crime devotees have been spoiled with cases like Darrell Brooks in Wisconsin. Cameras captured every absurd utterance in a never-before-seen breach of courtroom decorum. Those curious can follow the soap opera drama of South Carolina versus Alex Murdaugh. With wall-to-wall play-by-play, there is no shortage of new information. And of course, we can't forget about Florida. Thanks to their sunshine laws, we know about interesting and infamous characters like suspected suitcase stuffer Sarah Boone, If not for the public's ready consumption of compelling evidence in near real time, would that encourage rampant online speculation? Or would we even know about the story at all, with discovery buried inside an impenetrable legal lockup? While you're thinking about it, if you like our show, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Make sure you set the bell to send you all the notifications of new episodes so you don't miss a thing. So how much does satisfying public curiosity impinge on the ability of prosecutors and defense attorneys to do their jobs? Many media organizations contend the gag order is too broad and unfair. At the time of this recording, lawyers representing many of those outlets are presenting that very argument in the state Supreme Court. Meanwhile, with the secrecy often comes rampant speculation, and that is what has been happening here. Self-proclaimed sleuths from TikTok to Reddit had the case all figured out, and as they were quick to point their digits in the digital world, some of their baseless allegations had real-life consequences. Here at Absolutely Criminal, although we occasionally inject our opinion into the show, we'll leave the speculation to psychics and self-proclaimed experts. One of these influencers, known by Ashley Solves Mysteries, really missed the mark when she took to TikTok and blamed the demented acts on a professor at the university. That educator, Rebecca Schofield, directed her lawyers to file suit against Ashley Gillard, claiming defamation. The professor contends Ashley's allegations are bogus and her family have faced threats from an angry public who, at the time, thought there was a killer on the loose. With all her opining, it appears Ashley may have laid a very expensive egg with this one. Many junkies of our genre suspected the roommates, Dylan and Bethany. Their 8-hour delay from crime to 911 call, they say, was suspicious enough to raise a red flag. Even tarot card readers have joined the fray, cutting out the middleman and directly reading the minds of the maniac and 2 survivors. Was it the secrecy that fueled the fires of conjecture and conspiracy? Some of the victims' family members certainly think so, and they're joining the media in opposing the current gag order. As it stands, the current order bars all of the following parties from openly discussing the case: prosecutors, defense attorneys, investigators, attorneys for victims' families, the surviving victims, and witnesses. Even with the gag order in place, new details have gotten out. As we know from politics, a tantalizing leak is almost impossible to plug. But along with the daily drip of details, just know that the following revelations are based on anonymous sources to News Nation and other news outlets. A grain of salt is mandatory when hearing accounts like these. News Nation revealed that, again according to sources, the surviving roommates had good reasons for waiting 8 hours to call for help. They simply weren't aware they needed any. The report says Dylan mistook the commotion above her head for the noise of partying. At about 4 o'clock, she allegedly opened her bedroom door and shouted, "Calm down!" and "I'm trying to sleep." When she later saw the bushy-eyebrowed figure walking down the hall, she assumed it was one of the gathering guests. Bethany, on the other hand, slept through it all. If these anonymous statements turn out to be fact, they would explain the young lady's apparent inaction that morning. We're also learning about the 4 victims' valiant fight for survival, which was ultimately doomed. Kaylee Consalvis, Maddie Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle all undoubtedly did everything they could. Xana's father, Jeff Kernodle, told a local news outlet his daughter had bruises on her body, consistent with putting up a fierce fight with her attacker. Her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was reportedly found near or just outside the bedroom doorway, leading many to believe he heard the madman approaching. Another report attributed to News Nation declared that Kaylee's injuries were much worse than those of Maddie, who was in bed beside her. Did Kohberger bear that blade, or was it someone else? If it's him, was he stalking the house leading up to November 13th? And if so, for how long? Would he have stood out in the crowded parties on King Road? Well, yes, actually. According to People magazine, 3 university students said they often spotted Brian lurking about. One female student in particular said he was the type to stare. And he wouldn't look away if you caught him staring. No nod, no smile, and no word on where the awkward exchange would go from there. Now imagine Brian's your TA, and he grades you harshly, especially those of you who are women. He's always front and center in the storm of debate, countering arguments like he's swatting flies. Bryan Kohberger is PhD determined to make your academic life a living hell. Then suddenly, after around the time of November 13th, 2022, Brian changed completely. The once stoic grump of a teaching assistant was now handing out grades like Ralphie in A Christmas Story. Here's a classmate, Hayden Stinchfield, on Brian's metamorphosis after the date of the atrocities.
Definitely around then, he started grading everybody just 100s. Not like you pretty much, if you turned something in, you were getting high marks, and he stopped leaving notes. It was just, he seemed preoccupied is what I would have said at the time. And now obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied, but it was much easier. You'd turn in whatever you wanted pretty much, and he was just grading them up and sending them back.
Another classmate, Benjamin Roberts, looked back at his relationship with Kohberger with the benefit of hindsight. He said he also noticed a change in his TA after the homicides. The formerly all-business Brian was now all about the banter.
One of my classmates did observe that he became more animated towards the end of the term. I can support that observation in part myself. I did notice that he became a little chattier. He became a little more animated. Mostly what I noticed, though, is he was always showing up a little late, and he was always showing up with a cup of coffee in hand. He seemed like he was more exhausted going into the tail end of the term.
Putting all these elements together, let's examine what we know about the 7 weeks before Bryan Kohberger allegedly ceased to exist and a nocturnal nightmare descended on an unassuming Moscow. Police claim he had crossed the ultimate line and there was no going back. Much like the event horizon of a black hole, a sort of dividing line between reality and eternity. It's the point beyond which nothing can escape the intense gravitational field. Even light will bend inward on itself. Unfortunately for the perpetrator, he was no Einstein. During the crime, there was a general sloppiness, and he did a relatively poor job of covering his tracks. He would never escape, no matter the energy he would expend. Trapped for life, all his terrible crimes came to light. We'll travel back in time for a moment to September 23rd, 2022. That's the day a feisty and belligerent Kohberger allegedly had some kind of altercation with his professor. Just 1 month later, he reportedly received an email from the university stating he'd failed to meet expectations as discussed, and scheduled time on November 2nd to discuss an improvement plan for his behavior. It's unknown what was discussed at that time. And just 11 days later, prosecutors say he was on King Road in Moscow, Idaho, killing 4 bright young students. Whether the mental stress was too much or he had just given up, it appeared Brian just started going through the motions and his academic performance slipped even further. Another alleged altercation on December 9th seemed to seal the deal, and he was officially terminated on December 19th. When he was seen here at a traffic stop on the 15th, he had to have already known that his studies, career, and his life were slipping away beyond his grasp, down into the void. If guilty, he will be separated from our world forever, by death or a life of incarceration. If we've entertained you so much that you're still watching this video, why not stay for a couple more? Find out who would win a staring contest between Bryan Kohberger and Chandler Halderson. Close call. Or binge watch this Sarah Boone playlist here. Finally, here's something YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Until next time, let the darkness come alive.